He was here prior to my arrival. And I knew him from the past in his prior stops. But, I guess excluding the COVID year, which was strange in so many ways, right from the start of the next year, the organization, the attention to detail was obvious. And the bond that Seth made with players and staff members over time was truly great to see. Had a profound impact on many, many people over this span of time. Incredibly well-deserved promotion to the Sabres for sure.
How has he maybe changed the culture of this organization and sent it on the successful trajectory it's been through the last several seasons?
I can't really speak to the way it was before under the previous regime since I wasn't here. I can speak to my prior experiences. I can speak to what I think, what I observed. The culture is it's a buzzword that everybody talks about. What it really boils down to, I think, when you're talking to someone like Seth, is the honest relationships between people. Whether those are players, whether those are staff members, whether that's the fans and the larger community. Building that trust over time. I think is something that I saw each year from Seth. There's a little bit of a different group each year in the minors. Really at all levels, but especially in the minors. There's a starting point and there's an end point. And there's really a discussion with the players and the staff to go along together on a journey to get better. And there's a buy-in that comes with that. All hitting all the buzzwords here, but they're true. You need to get the group to think as one and to pull on the same end of the rope. And each and every year that happened, and it was truly remarkable to watch. I most impressed, I think, with the improvement of the group and the improvement of each individual from the start of the year to the end of the season. In each of those three full seasons, non-COVID. There were good things that were done in COVID as well, but it's very hard to establish culture, obviously, in that type of environment. But from my experience and in my observation, this is a real strong point for Seth and how he goes about his job.
And then just a couple of questions as we shift now to a new coach. I guess we'll start with can you give us any information on if that search has begun in identifying a head coach? And then also Nathan Page and Vinny Prospel being the assistants here. Is that expected to remain?
Yeah. First and foremost, the assistants did a great job this year as well. Seamless transition from my point of view, from the organization's point of view. Obviously, having Michael Pekka and Mike Weber move on to the NHL was great for them, great for the organization. That is part of the process here. We talk about it often. We're not only developing players, but staff members as well. But Patriot and Vinny did a fantastic job this year, in all respects, really right from the start. And quite frankly, we'll include them in the discussions, about the new head coach moving forward, but they're absolutely staying within the organization. Um, Obviously these sort of things, they're ongoing discussions internally. We start to, compile a list of names and start to think about a process, for what is an extremely important hire moving forward. If there's any downside to this arrangement, it's the fact that, Seth has just been part of incredible success for the Amerks and the development of our young players. We still have a ways to go on that front. We continue to have more top young players arrive in the organization, show up, ready to get better in Rochester. So we need to find a new leader, a new voice at the top, in making sure that that happens. It'll be a very important hire for the organization, and the process has already begun. Yes.
Some general managers will go on stating, what they're looking for. Do you sort of have any key ingredients you're looking for, whether it be a development coach similar to Seth with an extensive collegiate background? Is there somebody in the lower levels of minor pro hockey, an NHL assistant coach that would look to accept an AHL head coach? Is there, again, sort of just a key couple of components that you want to identify in making this hire?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not coming into this, and we're not coming into this as an organization with a background preference or anything like that. We're looking for the right person for the job. Obviously at this level, it's the development component is key. That's not to say that there's some preferred background for that part of the job. Development is not, in my opinion, just being a nice guy and letting young players do whatever they want. There's a component of having expose players or exposing players to the balance that comes with having fun and also working extremely hard. Not everything that goes into the day-to-day of becoming an NHL player is fun. And players have to buy into that. There's obviously a track record that can help you, point to certain coaches that have had success. But personally, I'm not married to thinking that X number of years of experience is the way we need to go. I'm really looking forward to talking to a diverse group of people, picking the best individual that's suited to continue the process that we have going here. Someone that can continue to develop our prospects on and off the ice. Continue to help the organization overall, and someone that can strike that balance, which is a fine line and hard to do between winning and developing. So I'm just looking forward to starting the process and finding the right person.
And then the last thing I have for you, Jason, is when it comes to this process, you mentioned that it already kind of has begun. Given where we are, roughly mid-May, is there a timeline that you have internally for when you'd like this hire to be officially executed?
Yeah, I think we go in thinking probably, prior to the draft is the right timeline. Probably having somebody in place, before we're in Vegas for the draft, before things like development camp happen. Ideally, that's a general time frame that we'd like to stick to.
Thank you.
Well, Lance.
Good morning, Jason. Curious, not exactly head coach related, but now that you've had more of your draft picks reach not only Rochester, but have more time developing over the last few years, what have you gleaned, I guess, from just the process that you guys have from scouting and really identifying talent? Just a couple of players that come to mind this season in Rochester in particular for me are Novikov and Neuchev, the growth that they've had. Is there anything in particular that you guys have really learned about, the way you're identifying players or anything of that sort now that you had more time, more evaluation of them in your organization?
No, I think it's validation probably for the scouting staff and the organization. We feel like we're bringing in talented individuals that are also good people that want to work and get better each day. So, you mentioned two individuals that had a great first season in North America. And for those two individually, there are even more changes than normally come into play for young players, coming from a different culture and not having been in North America prior. And for those two to have the success they had this year is really gratifying to see. But really, it's an ongoing process, is the way we see it. I think there's so many examples around the league. Even if you watch the NHL playoffs right now, we draft players at very young ages in this league. And the hardest aspect of the job is the projection aspect that goes with that. We're drafting 17 and 18-year-olds usually. What are they going to be at 24, 25 years of age? That is the question we're trying to solve as a staff when we go into the draft. So my answer is that, we like the progress of most every individual. Are some progressing better than others? Yes, that's normal. Will there be, different progressions from here? Backwards, forward, sideways? Yeah, that's always the way it works. So we're in the middle of that process. I think we have a lot of positives that we're drawing on right now. But you're always trying to get better. You're always reviewing. I think, simultaneously, I'll say that, drafting players at that age is the hardest part of our business. So, you reflect on what's going on in the past and continually try to improve, from an organization standpoint as well. But we're really happy with the young, talented players that we've brought into the organization, really happy with their growth, and look forward to that continuing.
I know it's early in the offseason, but you have some very important veteran players in Rochester who are going to be UFAs this summer. Would you prefer to limit the amount of turnover you have when it comes to that leadership group? Especially with you're going to have a new head coach, but to maintain, the culture, just everything that you've built over the last couple of years and, maybe try to limit the amount of turnover you have this summer.
I think that's a general goal that I could agree with for sure. I mean, the leadership that we've had in Rochester has been great. Obviously, the captain, Michael Mersch, Ethan Prow, Big Brett Murray, yeah, Mason Yobst. I mean, you know what? There are a bunch of guys. So are we going to bring back every single individual? Probably not. That's not how the business works. But are we happy with our veteran leadership and what they've brought to the table? Absolutely. They're a key part of what has gone on in Rochester that's been positive. When we talk about the balance between winning and development, I think that layer of experience and leadership is critical, obviously. So they've done a great job. So I think in general, keeping a good portion of that at least makes a lot of sense to me.
And my last question, really quick, is just Matt Savoy. Not exactly an ideal situation for a kid when he's just the age that he's at. He's played so much in the Western Hockey League. He's had a lot of success this year. I'm just curious from your standpoint, what he really gained from getting another year in the WHL, and just having the type of season that he's had. Obviously, it's been impressive.
Yeah, I mean, the rules are different, quite honestly, not fair for the players when they come from different places. So, I think it's credit to Matt. He puts his head down and works wherever he is. That's just what he's made of. His compete level, his competitiveness, however you want to phrase it, is special. And so he's not going to get down. If he wanted to progress and take a step forward and play at a higher level, I'm sure he did. Obviously we were pretty forthright in that, in the fall. And we would have preferred that a player like Matt, with his level, his amount of experience at the junior level, it probably would have benefited him more to play pro this year. We said that then and continue to believe that now. But the rules are the rules, and that's the way it goes. And to his credit, he's making the most of it. Still playing at an extremely high level. And it's a little bit of a disappointment for many reasons, obviously, that we couldn't continue to play in Rochester. But we kept saying, we keep playing, maybe we'll get Matt here. Well, I don't know. I mean, I think Matt's going to keep playing, right? Maybe right beyond everything. So just a credit to him, for maintaining a positive attitude, and just working his hardest each and every day, no matter whether it was exactly where he wanted to be in the fall. I think his teammates and the people around his junior team would tell you, you would never know it. He's there to lead on and off the ice every day and get better.
Thank you, Jason.
Yeah.
Hi, Jason. I was just wondering what you thought of Yuri Kulik's season as a whole. He had the fast start, and then he hit the lull, and he came out strong at the end. Playoffs, he didn't have numbers, but I mean, you talked to Seth. He really thinks he evolved. Just what stood out to you about Yuri's development, I guess, this season?
Yeah, I think Yuri had a great year when you step back. The first comment that I think I'll say with Yuri, that it's very easy to forget how young this player is. Based on the early success he's had, the expectations are very high. I mean, that's fair. Were there some ups and downs to his season? Absolutely. He'd be the first to tell you that. And is that normal? Yeah, I believe it is very normal. But Yuri played center for the most part, basically all year. That in and of itself is a challenge for a player of that age. We saw tremendous growth in the defensive side of his game over time. Still has a ways to go. Still an open question, quite honestly, where he ends up playing in the NHL in my mind. But the fact that he can be a multi-position player just makes him that much more valuable. He had moments that were, jaw-dropping awesome, quite frankly, both in Rochester, in the World Junior. He had stretches where he looked tired. That's all part of it. This is a young player that's, still learning about the grind, playing a very difficult position and trying to lead. I mean, I'm sure Seth spoke about it in his availability because we talked about it all year. You know, Yuri was asked to be a driver this year and not just like the year before when he was a rookie and kind of any offense he provided was almost gravy. This year he was expected to be among the leaders of the team, so that's a big burden for him to carry at his age. I thought he did it extremely well. Would he have liked to produce more in the playoffs? Sure. But, again, these are all learning experiences and part of the process. And, overall, just, absolutely had another great year and took a step forward.
Thank you, Jason.
Hi, Jason. Thanks for doing this. I'm interested just in general on your takeaways on the Syracuse series. I mean, you guys could be playing Duchene again. It didn't go your way this time like it did against Utica and against Syracuse before, but it was a 2-week grind for 5 games, and you guys learned a lot. Your young players. Just what kind of takeaways do you have from that 2-week span of those 5 games?
Yeah, no, I mean, each year I think I've said the same thing. I mean, these experiences, whether they're totally positive or not, are so valuable in the development of our young players. So here was sort of the flip side. Here was losing at home in that, final elimination game. You saw what you see a lot of times in those games when you're the home team, as much as you try to fight it, you come out a little tight. Our guys lived that experience, and that is one you can't really learn from until you go through it, in my opinion. So, not exactly as much fun as some of the other experiences in the past, but I still think just as important in the development of our players. Look, Syracuse is a good team. They got big, strong defensemen, some NHL caliber defensemen there. They really plugged up the neutral zone. They showed us a lot of things that you see in the playoffs, and it's a learning experience. But that being said, that fourth game on the road, that comeback, one of the most special games that I've been a part of. So it's not all negative, that's for sure. Disappointing not to move on, but a lot of great lessons learned. And I thought it was just a great series. Didn't go our way, but it was a great series nonetheless.
And Seth said in his availability, of course, now he's transitioning to an assistant coach. So he's going to be able to not be pulled in the multiple directions a head coach gets pulled in. How have you seen Seth evolve kind of as a teacher, the way he develops guys, communicates with guys, because he's really going to be able to delve into the relationships even more now that he, among other things, doesn't have to deal with us maybe twice a day.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a clear benefit too internally of having somebody that's coached some of the players that will be in Buffalo, at a lower level. He's earned a lot of trust over the years with a lot of individuals. That's through honest conversations, like I alluded to before, that quite honestly aren't always pleasant, whether that's in the moment on the bench or, the next day watching video, pull aside conversation before practice starts. He's been a coach for a very long time. He is a great communicator, and understands, that, there are ups and downs in the course of a season for sure for the team and for individuals. I just think he's bringing, a lot of experience to the table as someone that, uh, has a great handle on, the different buttons that you need to push throughout the year to motivate players. Understands that it's, the collective effort, and that includes the staff. That is important to lead to the success that you need to have. So getting everybody on the same page, attention to detail for everybody that's involved. Those are things that Seth is very strong at fostering. Something I'm sure that Lindy will lean on him for, even though he is a first year NHL assistant. There are a lot of qualities that he brings to the table that will, help, bring the group together, and both on and off the ice. That's something that we can take a step forward with next year, in my opinion.
Thanks, Jason.
Hey, Jason, AJ Feldman here at Channel 8. Obviously, the last two postseasons, the Amerks eliminated by these older, physical, heavy teams. Obviously, it seems like the Amerks are going to continue to be a younger, prospect-driven team. But is there some consideration to adding, one or two more power forwards to help these prospects maybe go on some runs? You saw just what the injury to Brett Murray and his insertion back into the lineup did. Is there some thought to maybe bring in just maybe one or two more guys to kind of help the unit as a whole?
Yeah, I mean, that's part of the process. As we move forward. I'd like to say that we have a young power forward, in Anton Wahlberg. So, ideally, we're developing a power forward or two over time that can help the Sabres. We already have some large forwards, obviously, on the Sabres roster. But you mentioned Brett Murray. Quite honestly, when you look at the numbers, we just have a lot of players. There aren't too many spots. So, and I'd like to, it'd be great if players like that, grew on trees, but they don't. So, we're looking for the right mix. We obviously want to support our young players with the type of players, veteran players that can help them on and off the ice. We have some of those already. But I mean, I still think that we could have obviously won this series. We were at home in Game 5, and even the ones that we've won in the past, they could have gone the other way. So it's just how it works. I don't necessarily see it as a flaw in the makeup of our team. When you have a young team like we have, even if the players aren't characterized as power forwards in terms of their prospects, they're young and their bodies are developing. So, some of the physical limitations, have to do with age, and things get worked out over time. But, what we look for is our players to compete through that difficulty. And by and large, I believe they did over the course of the season and in that series. The things that didn't go perfectly well, they'll learn from. But, it's a fair point. But you named a player in Brett Murray, who's a free agent. Certainly, have time for bringing Brett back. But, when a player is a free agent, he has choices. Michael Mersch is the captain. He's an older player, but he definitely plays a power game, in my opinion. And like I said, Anton Wahlberg is very young, but I think he showed some tremendous flashes there. So if we did bring back all three of those guys, and with all the other players, there aren't too many spots remaining. But hey, if there's a big player out there with leadership qualities and can play a power game, of course we're going to be interested.
And then with Seth obviously still being in the organization, do you anticipate maybe having him involved in the conversations, the process of identifying a new coach in Rochester, him obviously knowing what it takes to succeed at that level in the organization? Do you anticipate him kind of being involved in that mix there?
Yeah, I mean, of course, we have a conversation with Seth. He's got, and we already have, quite frankly, he's got a, very strong network of coaches all over the world, really, at this point, through his experience coaching to date. So I think you do that in general. You lean on people within the organization for, people that they've gotten to know over time. Seth is clearly one of those people.
All right. Thanks for your time.
Thanks.
Hey guys, any other questions for Jason? No? All right, we'll wrap it up there then.
Thanks, guys. Thank you. Take care.